Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this, the first in our series of sort of 30-minute live revision sessions for A-level politics students. My name's Jim. I'm here in the background helping out, and let's go over to the TutorTube Politics Team Live Lounge to see who's running this session for us today. And it's Kira and Duncan. Give us a wave just to make sure you are still there. You're not just hiding behind a kitten emoji. So, Duncan, Kira, welcome. And whilst people join the session, Duncan, do you just want to explain a little bit about how the session works? And then when you're ready, let us know and we'll make a start.
Absolutely. So we've got a range of activities coming up, different style activities, including some MCQs, some other sorts of things. What I'll ask you to do is use the chat window to suggest your answers. So it might be A, B, C, or D, or in some of the other activities, you might need to write a little bit more. We'll keep an eye on that. I can see your comments, and so can Kira, and we can respond. Similarly, if you've got any questions, we'll try and get to them. We'll try and spot them. Also, if we'll keep an eye on that. Shall we get cracking? Let's get straight on to some MCQs from Kira. Oh, sorry, just one more thing before Kira starts. Just going to say, in terms of the topics we're covering, it's voting behaviour and elections. But because it's elections, we'll touch on some electoral systems and things like that as well. So we'll cover quite a few topic areas here. Okay, over to Kira. Sorry about that.
Cool, great. So I thought I'd start us off with a nice, easy question. So how many constituencies are there in the UK? So just put A, B, or C, D in the chat. Okay, so
your answers. A couple of answers starting to come now.
Okay, yeah. So let's reveal the answer then. So the answer is obviously A, 650. So in order to form a majority, you need to have roughly half of those seats. So let's see what the next question is. So well done. Most of you seem to get that one. So a marginal seat is it A, B, C, or D? Okay, so see some of those answers coming through. That's great. And yeah, we seem to be mostly on the right page here. So the answer, let's just reveal the answer, is B, a constituency where more than one party has a good chance of winning. So these are often heavily targeted during elections. So for example, Fife in Scotland, their marginal seat is so tiny that it's just 2 seats. So they often decide who wins an election. So let's see what the next question is. So what was the Conservative majority in 2019? Was it A, B, C, or D? Okay, seems to be a couple putting down B. Interesting. Okay, well, the correct answer was actually D, so 80. So they had an 80-seat majority. It was a pretty good majority, easily enough to comfortably pass laws and not be too concerned with dissent and within their MPs. So it was D, 80. So the next question then. What was the Labour majority in 1997? Was it A, B, C, or D? Okay, so the correct answer then is A, 179 seats. So this was a huge majority. So it's not surprising that Tony Blair was only defeated 4 times in his 10 years in office. So having that strong majority was really crucial in them being able to pass legislation very easily and creating a very powerful government as a result. So well done. Good to see that most of you got that one right. So the next question then. So talking a bit more about voting systems now. So what is the voting system that's used in Northern Ireland and for Scottish local elections as well? Is it A, B, C, or D? Okay. So yeah, excellent. Right. So the answer for this one then is D. So single transfer. So sorry, yeah. So D, single transferable vote. A very important one because obviously this is the most proportional system that the UK has, which is especially important when looking at Northern Ireland, where there's quite a divided population there. So it's the most proportional system that we have in the UK. Okay, so the last question for the multiple choice then is which voting system is used in the devolved regions of Scotland and Wales, as well as for the London Assembly? A, B, C, or D? Okay, there's a lot of answers coming through. Great to see. Okay, so the answer for this one then is D again. So the additional member system. So a mixed electoral system, which is more proportional than first past the post, but not quite as proportional as STV. So over to you, Duncan, for the next bit.
Okay. So next up, we have got something called the 60-second challenge. I might give you slightly longer than 60 seconds. You can start looking at it now, of course, while we talk about it. We've got some key terms and we've got some brief definitions. And what I'd like you to do is match them up. So, you know, in the chat window, you can write a letter and a number. So so A, and then which of those number definitions do you think it would be? I noticed a question earlier on in the chat window asking whether this will be available afterwards. It will be up on YouTube. The recording of it will be available afterwards if you want to use it again later. Okay, so see what you think. We'll start the 60 seconds now. See if you can match those key terms with those short definitions. And we get the groovy music as well. Lots of right answers I'm seeing coming through. Really good. Okay, lots of right answers coming through. Well done. You can have a second or two more. I've just noticed there's a slightly cut off at the bottom of there. The older voters, it's who are more likely to turn out to vote, I think is what's just cut off on the bottom. Okay, lots and lots of right answers. So shall we reveal them and you can check your answers against them? Well done, everyone. Lots of really good ones there. So great. Make sure you use your key terms when you're writing your answers. Great stuff. Okay. Just check your answers for a moment there. Any there that you don't know? If there are any key terms there that you weren't familiar with, worth having a look back over those, reminding yourself about them. Any which we need to pick up. I saw lots and lots of right answers. I didn't see many errors, which is really good. Okay. Great stuff. So next we are going to have an activity called the Big Reveal. Okay, each of these, there are three of them, are going to reveal a particular general election. So a general election from a particular year. There are going to be some clues about them, and you've got to try and see how early on you can guess the right general election. It might be that you change your mind after a couple more clues come up, because it might be that an early clue, there are more than one general election it could be, and then later on you think, that's the one. Now, it might be that one of these general elections is one that you haven't covered particularly. Obviously, you'll focus on a few general elections in class. So if it's not a general election you're as familiar with, don't worry too much about that. You might know about it just from your general political knowledge, or it might be, that it's one that you can make an educated guess about. Okay, so let's have a look at the first clue for this first one. People are guessing before we've even seen one. This election saw the largest increase in vote share for the Labour Party since 1945. Okay. Seen a couple of guesses going in there. The largest increase in vote share for the Labour Party since 1945. Okay, I've seen 1997, I've seen 1983, I've seen 2005, I've seen 1997 again. A couple of popular ones there. Should we see what the next one is? No party gained an overall majority in this election. Oh, that's ruined a few of those suggestions then, isn't it? Because we saw earlier that Labour got a very big majority in 1997, so it can't be that one. I may have seen the right answer. Be very impressive if so. Let's see. Next one. I've seen 2021. That's well, optimistic or not, depending on your political perspective. Neither of the leaders of the two main parties had led their parties at the previous election. Okay, I'm definitely seeing some correct answers coming through now. Yeah, definitely. This was the second general election after the Fixed Term Parliament Act. So if you can remember when this Fixed Term Parliament Act came in, and then try and count two elections on from that. The Fixed Term Parliament Act was brought in as part of, to do with the coalition. So David Cameron and Nick Clegg brought that in. So if you think about the second general election to happen after that, that could well have given you it. One feature of voting behaviour in this election was described as a youth quake. People referred to something called a youth quake. I've seen lots and lots of right answers. So let's see what it was. It was 2017, the 2017 election, with what those clues were leading us to. And lots of people got that right. I think Raven Music was the first one I saw to get it right. So well done there. Okay, shall we have a look at the next one? Labour won 43.2% of the vote in this next one. Okay. As a little bit of a, might be a clue, might help, Labour won pretty much exactly 40% of the vote in the previous one we talked about, 2017. So this was an election where they won about 3.2% of the vote more. That might help. This election doubled the number of women in the Commons. Okay, so that's an interesting one, because it could either be quite an early one where it doubled it from a very low number to a slightly less low number, or it could be you might be aware of an election where there was a very significant increase in women in Parliament in that particular election. I have seen some correct answers. The Referendum Party got 800,000 votes. They were a kind of precursor to UKIP. They were calling for a referendum on the EU. Yeah, seeing lots of right answers there. The Conservative campaign included posters saying "New Labour, New Danger." They had pictures of the then Labour leader with like devil's eyes put over the top of it. Lots of people getting the right answer now. And the Sun switched to supporting Labour in the lead up to the election. Someone shouted, "It's not 2019." It isn't 2019. You're right. Lots of right answers. It is 1997. Well done. Lots of you who got that one right. And lots of educated guesses as well from others. Okay, the last one of these. Okay, so the first clue, the Conservative Party got 42.4% of the vote. And this was the same vote share as Theresa May got in 2017. Okay. Which election could this be? The third party only got 23 seats, but 25.4% of the vote. So, I mean, that's a pretty dramatic example of underrepresentation through first past the post. So whether that helps what it might be. Can you think of an election where the third party got as high a percentage of the vote as that? But very few seats. And Labour won 209 seats and only got 27.6% of the vote. So they only got a couple of percent more than that third party, but nearly 200 more seats. So it's a pretty dramatic election. I haven't seen a right answer yet, although I saw one. Oh, yes, I have. I have seen a right answer. Maybe two now. One factor influencing voting behaviour is named off the English name of the Malvinas Islands. That's like a sort of a kind of Richard Osman's House of Games type clue there. If you know what that is, then you'll be able to work out what factor I might be referring to there. And the last clue, Labour's manifesto that year was described by Gerald Kaufman as the longest suicide note in history. I've seen quite a lot of right answers now, and someone recognising what the third party that we referred to was. It was the SDP, or the SDP Liberal Alliance. And the answer is 1983. Well done for those of you who got that. I realise it's not an election that everyone covers, but it's quite an interesting one, particularly from a electoral systems perspective, to see the impact of first past the post. Okay, and now we shall move back to Kira to do an activity called Red Herring.
Cool, thanks, Duncan. So with the red herring then, what you're going to do is you're going to have 4 options and you need to work out which of the options is the odd one out and why. So let's start with the first one. So which of the 4 of these is the odd one out? A, B, C, or D? And why is it the odd one out? Okay, so seeing some answers coming through. So okay, so the odd one out in this one was, just reveal the answer to you now, EU citizens. And EU citizens are the odd one out, the red herring here, because they do not have the right to vote in UK elections. So that was the way that they were connected. So let's try out another one. Okay, so out of these 4 dates, which one is the odd one out and why? Accidentally, there are 2 different answers for this. So it'd be interesting to see, yeah, which one you guys pick up on. And double points if you get both. Okay, so the odd one out that I put forward here was 2010, because all the other 3 elections resulted in majorities. 2010 didn't. It resulted in a coalition government with the Liberal Democrats and the Conservative Party. You could have also have actually put 1997 as well, because after doing this, we realised that actually the other 3 all were Conservative governments as well. So you could argue that both of those are red herrings as well. Okay, so let's have a look at the next one. Okay, so you've got 4 different options here. So which one's the odd one out and why is it the odd one out? A bit more of a tricky one here. Okay, so the odd one out for this one then is essentially, I'll just show you the answer now, is proportional outcomes. So the other 3, so tried and tested, leads to majority, and MP constituency link, are all perks and strengths of first past the post, whereas the one thing that first past the post does not provide is a proportional outcome. So although it's quite effective, obviously falls behind when we're thinking about pluralism, and it leads to very much a 2-party system with wasted votes. So one of the critiques of first past the post. Okay, so just handing back to you, Duncan.
Okay, so the next activity is called a connection wall. Now, I think sometimes when you look at these, you just think, oh my God, it's 16 totally random things on a screen. What's this all about? But the idea here is to try and make 4 connections. So 4 groups of 4 things from there. So I'll give you a minute perhaps just to have a look and see just in general whether people come up with any connections. And then I'll start giving a few clues to point us towards some particular groups, but see what you think, see what you come up with first of all. So just type down sets of 4 if you come up with, or even if you notice 2 or 3 that go together, suggest a few. Let's see what you come up with. What have we got? It is exactly like the activity on Only Connect, Jacob, you're right. Okay, region, age, gender, social class, sociological factors. Absolutely, that's true. We could also think of them as another type of factor, perhaps, that's contrasted with 4 other things up there. We've got 1997, 2019, 1983 leaders. What's the link? If you're putting some together, you might need to suggest what you think the link could be. Sorry, how we meant to do the grouping. So you meant to find 4 groups of 4 and decide what it is that connects that group of 4. So someone suggested social characteristics, election years, factors for electoral results. That's pretty close. Popularity of leaders. Some interesting connections. You may well come up with some explanations for some links that aren't the ones that I did. Let's have a look then. A few people have mentioned sociological factors, or perhaps we could also consider them kind of long-term factors that influence voting behaviour. What could they be? So we've seen region, age, class and gender, perhaps. Shall we have a look and see if that's a connection? Region, age, gender, social class. I've called them long-term factors. Absolutely. Other people have called them demographic factors and sociological factors. Absolutely. Can we see perhaps a different set of factors that might influence voting behaviour? I'm seeing people saying factors affecting party success in elections. What could they be? Popularity of leaders, election campaign, media coverage and events. Yeah, they're the short-term factors. Should we see if that's a link? I've seen a few people come up with that now. Absolutely. Well done. And I've seen people describe that as valence issues and short-term factors and factors that might influence a party's success. So all those are good descriptions of what that might be. Well done. So then we've got lots of years, and they are years where general elections happened, but can we put them together? Oh, I've seen someone make a connection there. Yeah, I've seen a couple of correct answers for one of the sets. Shall we see what the next one is? Yep. Okay. So 1966, 1974, 1997, and 2001 were all Labour victories, and I saw a few people get that answer correct. So on that basis, what do we think 1979, 1983, 2010 and 2019 might be? 2010, we can debate about it, really, couldn't we? Perhaps it should have been 2015, but yeah, absolutely. There, Conservative wins, or Conservative becoming the biggest party. Shall we see that as that last one? Okay, very good. Well done. Lots and lots of very good answers. I think you're the quickest to get the connections that we've had of any of the connection walls I've seen from other subjects. I don't know whether it was the groups we had or just that very smart politics students, but well done. Some really good answers. Shall we have a look at some more multiple choice questions from Kira then?
Yeah, sure. So these are just a few more questions about, again, more specifically about the electoral systems, although looking at some of your answers from the last rounds, maybe it's a little bit too easy for you. But first question then. So which electoral system is a hybrid system which combines first past the post and the list system? So just drop your answers in the chat. Okay, good. Already got some people getting the right answer. Okay, so the correct answer is D, additional member system, or AMS. Okay, well done. Most of you seem to get that correct. The next question then is, which electoral system is used to elect mayors as well as police and crime commissioners? A, B, C, or D? Okay, good. Some answers coming through. Yep. Well done, Rihanna. So the correct answer is C. Supplementary vote is used to elect mayors as well as police and crime commissioners. Well done. The next question then. Which electoral system uses the Droop formula to derive the vote quota? So it's quite a complex system actually in order to work this out. So which one uses that? Okay, so the correct answer then is B, single transferable vote. So it's quite a complicated system to work it out, but the the benefits is that it ends up being a lot more proportional as a result. So the complexity kind of is made up for in that. So the next question then is, what was the turnout for the 1945 election? So it's quite good to have some fingertip knowledge when you're thinking about electoral turnouts, because it's good to answering questions on democracy as well as election when looking at the reasons for turnout being high or low and considering how democratic the UK is. So the correct answer for this one is, oh wow, I'm very impressed that a lot of you know it, is B, 73%. Okay, so it's a good reference point to have 1945, because obviously we've seen in subsequent elections, this turnout does decline quite a lot. And then the last question for this is, what was the turnout for the 2019 election? So a good comparison to 1945. Also, 2005 is good too. Okay. So, okay, not looking too great on this one. It is difficult to know, but the correct answer is D. Some of you got it. Well done. 67%. Okay.
Fantastic. Okay, thanks very much, Kira. So I hope you found that really useful. I'm very impressed with a lot of your elections and voting behaviour knowledge. Well done. What would be really useful for us would be if in the chat window, as we sort of conclude things for this afternoon, if you could just type some suggestions for topics that you'd like us to cover in future sessions. We're going to do this again. So if there are any topics you'd like us to do a revision blast on, please do suggest them down there. Anything you're perhaps struggling with or feel you want to test yourself on, we'd be very happy to help. Okay, so thanks very much for all your answers. A very lively chat window, which is good to see. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and we'll see you soon. Thanks very much, Kira. Thanks very much, Jim, and see you soon. All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.